Hi, guys. Welcome to this episode of the Trainer Feed. We are your host. My name is Angel Sanchez. We have David Bravo.
Hello.
And Jacques Delagere.
What's going on, everybody? How we doing?
On today's episode, we're going to cover a couple of things. One is some of our methods of closing clients, the necessity of being transparent with clients, and then our favorite trunk stability movement patterns that Trump crunches. It wasn't my wording, so.
Why was that funny, Dave? Dave was in a funny mood. Do you have did you go to comedy class this morning or something?
David loves to laugh. What's wrong with laughing?
I love to laugh. I always laugh. You know this.
I know,
David.
but he's telling the opening statement, like creasing. He hasn't said anything.
He wakes up with just the cheese on his face, just like smiling mad hard.
Yeah.
It was good. It's good.
It's better
They
to
say
be like that
laughter,
than to be...
right? Laughter is the best medicine.
Yeah,
Somebody
no, it's
said
better
that?
to be like that than anything else. I
It's
agree.
medicinal.
It is medicinal. I think so.
I believe that.
Have you guys ever went to a comedy show?
I think I went to one in my life.
A couple in the West Village. I actually went to one where so I always heard that comedians practice their material on off nights, non-peak nights.
Right.
And it was actually a night when Louis C.K. came in and played some jokes and wrote down like what their responses were. So seen a couple, yeah. And I actually finished listening to the Dave Chappelle and Joe Rogan episode yesterday, which I think you'll
That was a
both
good
enjoy.
one.
But you listened to it as well, David?
I listened to clips of it. That was an interesting one.
I'm almost done with it. I was listening to it, but I haven't finished it yet.
Did you get to the part where Dave Chappelle was talking about COVID?
I think so. I mean, yeah, he spoke a little bit about it briefly, but
My favorite bit is when he talks about Einstein.
No, I didn't read. I didn't listen to all
Oh,
the
was
YouTube clips of it, so I don't know. Would
yeah.
you like to repeat what he said, Jack?
No. We're gonna butcher it. You never repeat
I never,
jokes or
yeah.
anything like that, because then you just fuck it up. There's an Eddie Murphy skit that he said the same thing. It's like you're just gonna go to work and be like, and he said goody goo goo, and everybody's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
No, but that's good. That's a good episode. But anyway, we're like, he's just a funny guy, and I can't believe that it was until 3 years ago I never saw the movie with him. How High? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And I was just crying. But we always laugh our heads off when we watch that, or Pineapple Express. You guys seen that?
Yeah, Pineapple Express is pretty good.
It is just so funny.
I love funny movies though. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of funny movies, comedies, make you feel good, happy. I don't like horror. I don't like romance.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Romance is fine.
Action
but
is
horror
sometimes.
Depends on how. If horror is completely unreal, I think the scarier ones are the more realistic ones. There's a movie called, I don't know what it's called. It's basically this woman that she lives in the middle of the woods and she's deaf, and then someone like breaks into the house and essentially kills her, but she's deaf and she can't see the guy at the window. She has no idea, and it's like,
I think I've seen the trailer
oh
for
my
that.
god, that just had me. My anxiety was through the roof. So that's a realistic scenario, right? But if you got like ghosts flying out of walls and all this stuff and heads spinning, to me that's just
you
not.
don't believe in ghosts? Is that what you're saying?
You know what's interesting? Until I don't believe in them until you put me in a house that's supposedly haunted and it's old as fuck. Then ask me if I believe in ghosts. Then
That is true. There is some weird stuff that happens with like old houses, but they always make sounds. That always freaked me out. I think in the city, it's kind of like not too many apartments. I guess unless it's like really old and you have like wooden floors and all that stuff, they don't really creak that much. But a lot of houses creak and they make sounds and all this stuff. Like it's like, why is the house making? Nobody's up there, and then you're just like, unless.
So when that happens, I'm like, Jesucristo.
But quickly on that, I finding movies on that episode of Joe Rogan and Dave Chappelle, he mentions Step Brothers. I don't know if you guys heard that bit, and he's like, "You could never make a movie like that today.
Yeah, that's true.
You just offend so many people, and then
there's a lot of movies like that. But yeah, that's one of those.
You couldn't, and then even on the SNL,
even Steve Carell said it. Steve Carell said that a lot of the episodes of The Office can't be made right now. They can't.
Oh, he said that.
Yeah, he even mentioned it. Yeah. Especially like episodes when they deal with like Oscar and stuff like that, and Yeah, it's tough. It's hard.
But
it's a very fine line.
It's a fine line. I was going to say, and it's interesting because on the SNL skit with Elon Musk and Mario and Luigi, I think American,
R.I.P. Dogecoin.
But I think American Italians took it wrong way, but didn't like so much the
I think it was Wario
impersonations and that he was eating garlic.
Italian Americans or
and because there was reference to Cuomo in there, but I think
I didn't see it.
Yeah, and someone told me about it, but I told them, I said, look, like if there was an impersonation of someone French and they're having a baguette or eat snails, I mean, I wouldn't take offense to it because it's just part of the culture of what they eat. Do you know what I mean? But if you're offended by that and you're sensitive to that, that's another thing. But I'm just telling you firsthand, if someone again had the baguette or snails or the striped shirt and the beret, it's very stereotypical, but I don't think it's racist. I mean, we won't go into this, but I mean, that was just something.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't see it, so.
I don't know, man. Like I've gotten into arguments this week with people about racism, and I'm out of it.
Damn.
I'm done. It's bad. But like you said, we won't get into it on this show.
Yeah.
Meet me on my new podcast,
David.
The David Bravo. No, I did listen to a good podcast though with this political commentator Hassan Piker, who I fucking love. He was a commentator for the Young Turks, very progressive.
Oh, I know that dude. Yeah,
he's so funny. But he has a podcast. His first episode came out called Fear and Molding, and he had a good episode in regards to a lot of things going on now. And he mentioned the comedy stuff. Like he mentioned about because one of his co-host is a big comedy junkie. So he would like study comedy, study the comedians, and he was saying how the room plays into account of what kind of joke you make, how many people play an account, what type of people, and all the stuff going on, because a lot of it has to do with the punchline, right? It's like depending on how you say it, it could come off two different ways.
Yeah, and then you also have to understand that you can say anything, and not everybody's going to agree with it.
Yeah,
you say the sky is blue, and there's going to be
there's going to be people that say no, it's
white with bits of blue, yeah.
Or just people who are just say no, or people who are just going to be like, I dislike what you said, I feel offended. It's just like
anti-vaxxers.
So there's all of that.
Oh man, don't even get me started on those people.
Hey, we got to wear masks now because the vaccinated people are going to shed.
Oh god.
And apparently. You got to have the mask on now. That's a new conspiracy theory.
Without going too deep into that rabbit hole, we'll save that for David's podcast. Again, David takes on the world.
The podcast is going to be on Pornhub because
Pornhub. What's that?
Pornhub. You know damn well what Pornhub is, Jacques.
It sounded like Pornhub.
Oh, it did.
Yeah, it did.
David got a new website and a new podcast. All right, boom, boom, boom.
Listen, man, you got a lot of creeps that'll just jump on and be like, you know what, this isn't that bad. I came here for one thing, but I got the other.
I got two.
Right. Subscribe to OnlyFans.
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 Sponsors to fund our podcast. That's what it is. OnlyFans. Yeah,
so how do we close clients? What's your trick, David? We'll start with you.
My good looks, and
he starts with a laugh.
Just like, what's up? How you doing? No. How do you close clients? In the beginning of my career, it was hard because I was nervous about being too pushy. And now, where I'm at right now in my career, I just straight up go and say it. Like, hey, is this something you really want to invest in? This is what I can do for you. This is what I need from you. If you want to invest in this, let's do this. I'm down. We could really make some change, but ultimately it's their decision. I'm not their banker, So
what about you, Angel?
Yeah, I think I agree with what David said. I think in the beginning I kind of thought that a couple of things. Like I thought that I didn't want to be too pushy. I didn't want to tell people this is what you need to do because you are more likely to have. First of all, I think that sometimes my brain thinks one way and then I just stop myself from saying it because my brain is like, if you're obese, you have a higher likelihood of being hypertensive, having heart conditions, whatever, higher likelihood of diabetes, things like that, like just come with certain things, right? Like you put them on a what you call it, like an InBody or something. You calculate the body fat percentage, and you just say what it is. But I've learned that is not the best way. And also sometimes it's not what people need to hear right now. Sometimes they know that, sometimes they don't know that, and you kind of have to manage the expectations and all that. So long story short, I feel what David's saying. Just say, is your health something that you want to invest in? And that generally generates a more thoughtful response. And then from that response, you can go into deeper detail on how you will make some sustainable changes. Because obviously, if it could be free, and if I got paid salary, I think if we all got paid salary and it was just like free and we didn't have to worry about that, we would, just feel a lot easier with it. But you have to have those conversations, those powerful conversations with people, and give them what they need and help them, even if they can't afford it, to say, all right, if you can't afford it, you can't do this right now, or you're not going to make the changes needed to, or make the habit changes needed to make a bigger physiological change, then we can do something else. I'll send you some resources. Here's what, some free resources, and, just come back to me if you need help. That's it.
Yeah. That was I had an EqualFit this morning. It was like that. Like, his biggest thing was certain things, and I gave him my suggestions, and he's like, all right, well, I'll come back in a couple of months. I'm like,
God.
All right, cool.
Yeah, that's rough.
It is what it is.
It's rough because you know that person's either not going to come back or they're not going to change for the next 5 years or so.
Yeah.
But what can you do, right? You can't save them all.
He was
no.
And you can't care more than they care.
That's a big
right?
thing. Yeah, the caring. You have to. You don't want to. You can't give off to that impression to them that, oh, you're just another number, you're another person, you're another figure, or you're another dollar sign in my bank account, whatever. But as you said, I know, Angel, you spoke to me about some examples where you had someone where you were really going the extra mile to help them know or cue them for homework. And it was just like, if the person doesn't want to do it, there's only so much you can do. So, and then David, you made a very good point about, I'm not your banker, and what do you want to get out of this? And do you value your health? I mean, you touched on that as well, Angel, but because I'm similar to what you both just said as well. I've never been able to that's probably been one of my weakest parts of training, but being a trainer, was like the closing. So I think that's why it's an important thing I thought of talking about today, because it's never been a strength of mine. And if you have a weakness, how do you work towards making it a strength? And excuse me, but even when you mentioned, Angel, about here are some resources, or David, you also did, about you can send them all the articles, but they might not even read half of them. And you're doing the work and you're sending them. But I think something as well that I tried to do at one point was one thing didn't work, was being the hard seller. I need to see you 6 times a week, so that they would come and say, oh, I do too. Like, that never worked. And the way I tried to do it was, here's your program. This is very standoffish. Here's your program. I've designed 3 days. You let me know how many days a week you want to train, and whenever you're ready, ball is in your court. And it wasn't very much something that worked often or frequently, to tell you the truth. But similar to the conversations you guys would have, it's, if you value your health, I'm here. If you value training and you want to make the changes now, you have my contact. We've already made the connection. You let me know when we start. It's sometimes unfortunate. And I'll just go from experience of saying that those that you push harder in those initial conversations or communications aren't always the longer lasting clients or training relationships. Yeah. We can speak from experience. So we've seen some more aggressive closing, and it'd be a short-term training career history between a coach and a client. And that's not a bad thing. Sometimes that's better. Sometimes clients only need a short stint of training. I think a couple of trainers when we were 76th Street, we spoke to, who were training with a client 3 times, and then it went down twice and then went down to once. And the trainer said to me, well, I'm confident with them doing once a week. They're pretty established with working out in the gym. I've done my job. they can now move in the gym efficiently, injury free, and I just check in with them once a week. I think that's a very good example of someone's come to you, they've been able to then change their whole movement capacity, and they still do it safely. And I spoken about this in the past. I've seen both of you, Angel and David. I've seen your clients when they weren't working out with you, doing the homework and being pretty proficient about following a program. And that also speaks volumes about you guys as trainers, because that just means that when someone isn't working with you one-on-one, they still believe in your training methods, in your style, and knowing that you're there to help them, for one, obviously, but two, that you've invested time and thought into helping them progress. Yeah. You know, and I think that's a very telling sign as well into a successful trainer, is if the client can take away, even if it's not a set program you've given them specific, they're like, oh, you know, I did deadlifts of David, and David always had me do like 4x8s, and it was this weight, so I'm staying. You know, I've seen, and likewise, Angel, I've seen those same things. I think that's a big thing. I know that's kind of going away from closing, but long and short, I've always sucked at closing. Really, always.
No, I think it's one of those things where it shouldn't necessarily. It's like a different skill. It's a completely different skill set from actually like coaching, which is, I think coaching is probably more in the communication world. Exercise science is probably more of like the mathematics and science world. And then closing is kind of more of a business skill. So it's, you know, not necessarily something that everybody's going to be proficient at every single one of those aspects, right? Because they're all very different. So, you know, I try my best. I think if I were to say like which one of those aspects was my strongest point, I would probably say maybe coaching first, then the science second, because I haven't read a textbook in a long time, and then third would probably be the skill set. Maybe you guys would, or the business skill set. Maybe you guys would disagree, but that's how I personally feel. And you know, it's just a work in progress. We all get better at it, hopefully, as we continue to go along. And hopefully we just don't stay stagnant. But I guess that's part of the process, is just internally reviewing that stuff in our head and just trying to figure it out and just make it work better.
Yeah, and ultimately I remember conversations you spoke about having with clients where not only to ask what the client is expecting in terms of goals to be set or met, but what you as a coach can do for them, or what you can do better with them. I think that's a very important thing that I still need to start doing more of. You know, what can I do more? What can you get out of me, or what do you need more from me? Sorry, you know, okay, do you need these constant reminders? Do you need just the check-ins, you know? And I think that's another thing that I haven't done nearly enough of, but there's that fine line of not caring too much, right? Where I remember speaking to other trainers that were going from tier 3 to tier 3 plus, and being excited about both being excited and anxious about being able to give nutrition plans. How many times have either of you given a nutrition plan where someone stuck it out more than a month?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been able to do that with somebody sticking out with it longer than a month. But because of that, the newest thing that I've done is I've fallen back to the precision nutrition guidebooks, or their infographics or infographics, whatever I don't know really how you say it, but I've sent people that, and that seemed to be much quicker for me to just be able to like hear it and just give you a response. B, it helps them have that information in a digestible format or a digestible layout, so that way it's not like too high level. It's like, oh, I got to count this calorie or count that calorie. Right. No, just think palm size, you know, thumb size, you know, things like that. And then C, it's easier for us to reflect on it, right? Because they'll remember that more likely. And then at the end of the week, when we recap, they're more likely to say, yes, I did this, or actually remember what the hell just happened, because if I gave them the other way around, it was just not working. And it was just too much work. It's like you spend hours a week doing, you know, the programming, you spend hours a week doing like nutrition plans, you spend hours a week, training people, and then you spend hours a week communicating and scheduling. So it's like, it's too many hours doing that, and it's all spread out. It's not just that 1 hour you see the person and it's done, by onto the next. It's like there's a lot that goes into it, and I did not want to be a slave to kind of trying to continuously give like a detailed format for people just not to give a shit about it, or say it's too complicated and they just didn't do it.
But in addition to that, when we can probably all attest to having scenarios where someone comes to you, this is my goal for the next 2 weeks, or this is my goal. Check in with them a week or two later. They often haven't, this is just some things you have a spur of the moment goal, or you haven't thought of the whole process through it. I can't remember who I was having a conversation with about this, but saying ultimately when you look at a goal, you need to understand the whole process of getting there and not just look at the end product. And that's hard because the end product is usually flashier than the process. But, if I want to do this many climbs or runs in a week, but, they're biting more than they can chew, and they've gone from not running to running 3 times a week. And not only because that potentially cause injury, it's not usually a likely habit to sustain. And, if someone isn't working out when it comes to January or September, whether it's start of New Year or it's after the summer, we would all rather someone own 2 days a week for a year, right? And add in that 3rd, 4th day, as opposed to someone for the first week or two crushes 6 days a week, and I know we always see memes, but I laugh about when someone says, oh, I got to start looking for my summer body. And it's like the best, I wasn't saying the best bodies are built all year round, not just in the winter, but all year round. I think that's why it's so kind of funny. I mean, all the memes are funny, they're like, shit, summer's in 2 months, and they're like going crazy for it and everything. But
yeah. No, I think that about sums it up for all of us. We value our clients. We love them to death, or we love them to the end of the session. And that's what David's like, yes. But we also
until 5 minutes before it's over.
Yeah, you also need to be sustainable. I was gonna go on another segue about like frequency, because Jackie had brought up a good point about seeing people, and like when people say that they can only do like 2 times a week or 1 time a week, and you're just like, you should have done 6, right? Like some people will always go for like the higher number of sessions, but I think personally I'm at a point in my career that I know I've trained those people 5 times a week, and I don't even talk to my mom 5 times a week for an hour, and it's a lot. Like for
a lot
for me.
It is,
but I don't want to go into that segue. That's another avenue.
Depends on the client.
I don't know.
No,
man.
But 5 times a week,
think even the best,
lot.
Even the best client, even your favorite, you get along with, it starts to become something different. It's not what it intended to be. For me, maybe for you,
sure.
Maybe David's a different person. If you want to do 5 times a week, go see David. Bravo, he'll see you 5 times a week. For me,
Ed had someone. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, for me personally, maybe you see me 2 times a week. You see Jacques 3 times a week. We'll spread the love. But David, he got you
5
all
times.
5. But let's go into transparency with clients. I think Shatira brought that up on a recent episode, and I really loved what she said about being transparent and understanding that the client may not see things the way that you see them, and being transparent with them really helps with building that relationship.
David, you want to shoot first?
In terms of working out stuff? Or
I just think in general, though, right?
Oh, in general.
Yeah, like where the program's going, what the intentions are, just making sure that you're transparent with them. And I think it even ties into the whole closing aspect too, right? Like I hate to tie my closing into you're going to see this result in this amount of time, because there's a lot of variables that I don't control, and it's kind of silly to say that.
Schaefer mentioned that. He said, I never
say, yeah, you're gonna lose this amount.
Well, he never guarantee. He said, I never guarantee, because as what you said, the variables in play are just hard to predict.
And ultimately, you're the one that they're gonna blame.
I mean, if you say that you're going to do that and they buy because you say that you're going to do that,
but that's what you learn.
They're not wrong.
They're not wrong. You learn from your mistakes and you say, listen, if you, and this is why being transparent is so important, because if we train 3 times a week, and it's not to say you care less, but if you're eating like absolute garbage, it doesn't matter how often you're coming in. You have to eat as clean as possible. And then this is a scenario where, you mentioned the precision nutrition tactics, Angel, right? And the mood, was it not the mood boards? What was it again? You said the cue cards?
They have infographics for like food sizes, portion sizes.
Oh, right. So suggestions for serving sizes, right?
Yeah.
So I've done some of those check-ins of clients with food, and what is described and what it actually looks like can be 2 very different things, right? So that's why it's good to be completely I know we're only trying to help people. I know it's a very funny dynamic sometimes when you're with a client and they're a little upset. You're trying to, like, I'm not trying to take something out from your diet to be a dick or to be spiteful. I'm doing it because I know it's more efficient at being cleaner in the process and probably likely going to get you there, right? It's just, and personally, I'm not someone who drinks a lot of alcohol, so everyone always like really raises their eyebrow at me. And I have a client who's actually also a good friend. No Sambuca.
It's gross.
But I wouldn't drink a lot of Sambuca.
Jacques only likes Sambuca because he's weird.
You'd have 1 or 2 shots and you'd be done, Sambuca. You wouldn't have any more than that.
Because you're lightweight. What?
Yeah, but I have no problem being a lightweight. But but a client who's also a very good friend of mine was asking about, can I lose this much weight in X amount of days? And I said, all right, if you listen to me fully, and if you work out this many times, and if you eat clean, and how can I have scotch? I mean, the 7 scotch was only 50 calories, he said to me. I said, do you want my advice or do you not? Could you have success of having some alcohol in your diet? Most likely. But if you want our honest opinion, what we think is going to be the most successful route for you, we're going to be transparent. I think what's important is the other thing as well is you can provide homework on days when someone isn't working with you, but if the person isn't making time for it, there's only so much you can do as a coach, right? And that's being transparent. Is we meet together on a frequent basis. I've given you the extra materials to do something by yourself. You literally have to find that time or window in your day, whatever it is, and it's there for you. And like when someone apologizes, don't apologize to me. We had a conversation and there's something you want to achieve, and I gave you the was like sneezing hard at the bottom. You're gonna get that 3rd shot. I got a joke about that in a second.
All right, it's my allergies, man.
Your allergies? It's COVID. Don't be mad at me. Like when someone says, "Oh, you'll be mad at," I'm not mad at you. Like, you're human. It's a process. But if you come to me asking for something and I provide it and you don't do it, I mean, you're only harming yourself.
Yeah.
I'm only trying to help you. I'm only trying to set you up for that path. But
yeah, and it helps to be transparent with that, because I think that it, some people can see it as an attack. It helps to be transparent about like the program and where the program's heading in the direction that you plan to go, because that way they understand if you need to regress something or lateralize something or progress something. They understand why. But sometimes we just get to we take it for granted that we're almost in, I don't want to say a position of power, but I'm going to say it because my vocabulary is not the greatest right now. But
go ahead.
Yeah. So like you're in a position of power, right? And you're an authoritative figure, I guess, in some regard, right? Because people are looking to you for guidance, and then you don't explain everything, right? Like sometimes you go to the doctor and the doctor says, all right, you're going to do this, you're going to do that in 3 days. And then if that doesn't work, just come back and see me. And sometimes you're just like, okay, not everybody asks, well, why? And not every doctor explains why. So we also have to understand as health professionals that when people come to see us, we do owe them some level of transparency, so that way they can see where they're at right now, they can see where they're going to be, and they can see the trajectory and why you're taking that route, as opposed to just like, oh, this guy's one of those no alcohol guys, or oh, this guy's one of those, you know, balls to the wall every time we do a session guy, right? Or gal or whatever. Like, you're just going to not have them understand, and I think that doesn't really help with progress.
Why are we doing this? Because I said so.
That doesn't help. Yeah, but
we've heard that a lot.
Yeah,
I've heard that a lot.
Just trying to help.
Still hear that a lot.
I believe it.
It just makes it honest, you know.
You have to be honest, you know. Yeah. I think if I saw a really good Instagram reel the other day, and it was should you take protein supplements, or like which ones should you take? Do you want to hear my recommendation? He was like, fucking none. He's like, eat real food. You're not going to tell me that you get better nutrient dense, a more nutrient dense macronutrient in the powder than in real organic or the real like food, if you will, protein source. And I thought it was quite interesting, and it's so refreshing to hear more of that. And I think it's almost a rant of mine when someone asks me, "Oh, what protein shake?" I just like, eat real food. Stop trying to cut corners, and that's a hard. Sometimes these bars, quote protein bars, are like Larry's Cookies is a great example, and I let it openly admit I consume pretty much one a day. That might be sounding really shocking.
So we're off of that.
What's that? Oh, I've been on that for, I know, since about a year ago, I think, like one day.
Nah, wait, hold up. David, you remember he was off Larry's for a little bit, right?
I was trying to do 3 days.
And he was like, guys, you should know I haven't touched a Larry's cookie in like X amount of time.
Oh, so that was when I think I was still in Jersey. And then when I came here, I have one a day. That sounds crazy.
Them New York Larry's, they hit different.
I don't like it, dude. I don't like Larry's cookies that much.
It's
think
enough.
If I'm dying of hunger, I would have one. But I don't go out of my way to go buy them. I just don't. They're too chemically for me.
Oh, yeah, a little bit, but it's for me. Another example is trail mix. I have one or two packs of trail mix because that's the nuts, dried fruit, and a little bit of chocolate, and that for me is a bit of what I want with what I need. But that helps me not go crazy on a box of Oreos once a week. You know.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie. On Sundays, I got a Schmackaries. Oh man, those cookies are banging.
Never had it.
And you haven't?
No.
I think I've had them once.
So here's what I'm going to suggest as well. So I got some news for you guys. We got a bigger apartment. We're moving in later on, but we're gonna have a lot more space
for Schmackaries.
We're gonna have Schmackaries there, but I want us to be able to have our first in-person episodes as well. We've been doing this over a year, and we're gonna have the space to do so.
Not if David keeps sneezing like that.
Yeah, David, you're not gonna be able to let in. My doorman let anyone in, apparently, right, David?
Dude, I went to this fucking place. I walk in, I'm like getting ready to tell the doorman that I'm not a delivery guy or like anything like that, you know. So like I go in.
The racism is real.
So
it's always the people that you least expect.
Listen, man. So I go in there and then I'm like waiting, and this dude's there. I think he was there, but he was like on his phone or something.
Yep.
And I'm walking slowly, just waiting, and then he's not looking up. So I'm like walking by. I kept looking at him side eye. I'm like, nope. Oh, okay. So he's going to the elevator. Go up, knock on his door. He's like, the fuck? He's like, my doorman didn't tell me you were here. I'm like, what doorman? He wasn't doing anything.
That's grimy.
The other day, one of them was sleeping. I was like, I guess I better leave the front door unlocked so I can get back in the building.
Damn, that's wild. But what was the last part that we were going to talk about?
Trunk stability, movement patterns.
Crunches.
Let's talk about that.
That are superior to
crunches and sit-ups.
That you can do in the elevator while you're running to Jacques' apartment.
There you
go.
Because
his doorman's asleep. I like crunches, though. I haven't. So here's the thing. I'm going to run it back. When I first started, I didn't do any crunches with any of my clients. A lot of them did have back problems, though. So that's probably good enough.
That might be why.
That's probably the reason behind that. But as we started to train and, consistency built up, I felt like, I can sprinkle in crunches here and there. And then also like looking at some of the studies that Dr. Stuart McGill was putting out. He was like, he's not an anti-crunch guy or anti-flexion guy. So I was like,
anti-loaded flexion.
I think that was it. I think that the loaded flexion wasn't a big
loaded
thing for
flexion
him.
And torque.
Yeah, the torque, man. Thing that people do to some of their body parts is just wild. But you put it on Instagram, boomerang it, and people will do it. So anyway, where are we going with this? Planks are great.
My favorite.
Anti-rotation, Palloff press.
Yes. I love those.
I've been doing a lot of like static holds, things like that. But yeah.
If we had sleds again at 76, oh man, we would do so much.
Where are you going to put it?
In the group fitness studio like we used to.
That's the other thing too. Like you do a goblet squat with heavy enough weight. That's a good core exercise.
That's a good core, yeah.
Right? Like I don't know where people come from saying, "Oh, that's not core." It's like, no, that shit is core.
You're either not doing it at the right tempo, or there's something, or you're not heavy. It's not heavy enough or something.
Yeah.
Because at a variable,
marches. Those are great.
Yeah, those are
you
so.
You can do goblet hold loaded marches too.
But those as well, if those are similar to carries, where if someone is just not feeling the movement in the sense of the example it makes me laugh you used, when they're beaming across the floor.
They're out. Like crazy. I'm like,
that wasn't bad. And they're like, right, or they're like, whatever it is. But with the marching in place carries as well, you want to make sure you're not tilting from side to side. You want to be almost as still as possible and lifting that one limb off the ground. And that's why I really like some of the animal flow patterns, because if you do those wrong, you won't feel anything. Similar to I know here's another one, animal flow, boom. But because I heard another podcast, I heard another podcast with an instructor, and she was talking about
I saw that one.
The beast static beast pose. She said you can't think about anything else. You're concentrating too much on the exercise, and that's a good way to any clients who have their mind somewhere else or elsewhere. That's a good exercise to help them refocus. I thought it was a quite interesting point. But
wait a minute, because sometimes you'll have I need to see the movement, because sometimes you'll have them focus on like if you're doing a Turkish get up, and if they take their mind off it, it just looks like a terrible Turkish get up, or they fall and they bust their ass. Is it like one of those?
No, it's literally if you're on your hands, knees, and toes, right, in a quadruped position, you create tension in your hands and toes, and your knees lift off about half an inch, just enough for a piece of paper to slide underneath.
Oh, the bear crawl.
But the
beast, you call it?
The beast.
It's animal flow call it the static beast, because you're just holding that position.
Beast.
But that exercise doesn't become taxing if someone raises their hips and their knees are like 2-3 inches off the floor. Like, oh, I can hold this. Okay, bring your knees so it's barely hovering at the ground, and create tension in your hands and toes. The exercise is now completely different. And again, your spine is neutral. And that's how the forward walking crawl should be, with the knees so close. And again, you want to aim when your left hand, your right knee move forward, and right hand, left knee. You want to make it so that each movement is roughly about a foot, not so that one is moving more than the other, right? So you're like on some kind of
I didn't know that was animal flow. I've done that before, and I've done like the shoulder tap with it, and then the side, forward, reverse.
Yeah. So those are great examples of trunk stability where and that's why but ultimately as well, a lot of people when they hear or see about animal flow, the whole dancing, if you tell a client, they're like, I'm not doing that shit. So I just take pieces. It's like, I think Schaefer mentioned about Turkish get-up. He said, how often do you teach the whole get-up to a client? He's like, it's a lot of learning. So you just take certain steps of it and break it up. Yeah. So that's what I do with animal flow. I just take certain pieces and, but I think kind of based on what you said with Stu McGill, that there's not a wrong or right exercise. It's just what, all the exercises we've spoken about just now might feel great for us or our clients, but might not feel as great for some other people. And that's not a wrong thing. It's just so case specific.
Force them to do it then.
You got to. Or who else? Someone else also said, oh, I've seen the record for a plank is this many hours or something. And then someone was saying, I probably couldn't hold it more than a minute. If you're properly engaging, it's hard to hold past a minute. And I thought it was a very good point.
Yeah, it's funny sometimes you get like you get people that come in and want to do their assessment and they talk about how they're able to hold a plank for like 5 hours.
My guy today was like, I could do 3-minute planks. I'm like, okay.
Let's see it. Let's go.
And then he showed me his plank, and I'm like, okay,
first of all, that's not a plank.
Yeah, I was like, all right, dude, let's fix this. He's like,
was it where his hips hiked up really high?
It looked like a fucking valley.
Damn, like he was creating like a bridge.
Like this.
Oh, like that.
Oh, the hips all the way down.
The hips were down, yeah.
I see what you're saying.
So hips, yeah. So they weren't leveled. So,
but how you think your body moves and what it actually looks like can be very different as well. Until that's something that, for example, deadlifting someone. Teaching someone to deadlift that has always had their head in cervical extension
that's
when
hard.
you get the bottom is a really hard habit to break. Yeah. And I've been working with someone recently, and he's not doing it on purpose. He's just this is the way he's always done it. So it's just like, again, however the way we've lifted for the past 4 or 5 years, and if someone told us change your method, we would take an adjustment period also. It's very
Dude, I went from high bar back squat for the past 6-7 years to low bar. It's fucking so hard.
Really?
It's just a whole different thing.
More of a hinge?
Yeah. So, anyway. But yeah, trunk stability stuff, farmer's carries, sled pushes,
payload press,
deadlifts,
static
beasts.
And a lot to be said for asymmetrical loading. We've probably spoken about it in the past, but we joked about, those kettlebells are 2 different weights. That's the point.
But that transparency is key too. Let them know beforehand that you're gonna do that.
You're gonna do that.
Like 116, 120.
Someone was, but they're 2 different weights. I said, I know, but if we don't have any 10s, then the 8 and 12 will still make up 20 kilos, right?
I don't think that works like that, bro.
That's what I told him. I said 12 plus 8 equals 20. Let's go.
It's like you can't do math and hold weight at the same time. You just go.
I couldn't find the kettlebells the other day, the 12 kilos. You know where they were?
No.
They're in a basketball court. Someone went for a walk and left them there. That shit? What are you doing on the basketball court with the kettlebells, bro? No, I don't know. But that's just people leaving, whatever. But I was like, where are they? I can't find them. And then I went to the court one day and I was like, here they are.
That's weird.
So dumb. But
that's what happens when you work in a luxury gym.
A big ass, yeah.
You find it in the basketball courts. Find it in the pool.
That's disgusting.
Listen, I was covering the pool one day. I'll keep this brief so we can wrap it up. I was covering the pool one day, and I've never seen those aquatics instructors. I've never seen an aquatics class. I mean, obviously, y'all know that I suck at swimming. So I was covering it, just chilling, and I see like a whole bunch of people get in, and they're doing the class, and it's like move to the left, yay, move to the right, yay, and they're doing a whole bunch of things and clapping, and then move your knees up high, and doing all this stuff. And when I tell you, this group fitness instructor was like, first of all, he was jacked. He was jacked dude, and he was like pumped. He was like really excited. He's like, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. Get those knees up higher, get those knees up higher. And it was like, it's an older crowd, but I just thought it was interesting. It was like an older crowd, and then like this dude's like being very militant. And he had on shoes and like, the tight shirt, like the Under Armour, like really tight one. And I was so surprised because this dude just jumped straight into the pool and he just started moving. And I was like, with the shoes on? Like, I just didn't expect him to he leaped into the water and just started boom, clap, boom.
The instructor?
Clap. Yeah. He was like, move those knees up higher. And I was sitting there by myself. I was like, I never would have thought in a million years that this is what these, aquatics classes entailed.
I'll be like, I ain't never getting into this water.
Yeah, I never did. But
anyway. You ruined my Nikes. I ain't going in there.
Yo, he jumped with the Metcons. He just jumped straight in there. He didn't care. And he did it multiple times. I thought it was just going to be once. And I was like, maybe he just got too excited and he slipped. And he was just like, I'll just play along with it.
He went back.
No, that was his thing. That was his thing. Anyway. We'll wrap it up. Keep this brief. Thank you guys for checking us out on the trainer feed. And we'll catch you the next time.
Have a good one, guys.
Deuces.